All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming at you with another video. I made a video earlier where I was really talking about tethers and Luke Luke Skywalker or Luther Campbell weighing in on politics and acting as a representative for Black Americans. But this story I'm going to touch on now is very different. And I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say because I seen this coming over a year ago. The problem is now the so called migrants who are in this country illegally are mostly gangs. Trey Aragua, a Venezuelan gang. And they are one of the largest and most deadliest gangs in South America. We're talking about the type of gangs that are used to fighting in war torn countries and fighting swinging machetes and, you know what I mean, kidnapping and a host of other atrocities that we very rarely see coming from our so-called American gangs. Now, of course, gang activity is not any social construct that we want to uphold. But do you realize that now in the Black community, the only force that we have to this onslaught of South American gangs and gangs from other parts of the world, like China and Africa, is our own homegrown homogenous gangs. Because they are the only ones in our community that have somewhat unity and will protect their own neighborhoods. You can't count on the Nation of Islam to do that. You can't count on the Moorish Science Temple to do that. You can't count on the church. You know, the Nation, they will sell papers, they will sell pies, but they will not protect the community, the children, or the families and the nuclear family in the community. They will only protect each other. So will the Moors, and so will other social organizations like the NAAC. But realistically, on the ground, Venezuelan gangs and other gangs from South America have overran the country, and they are predominantly being stockpiled in the Black community. They come across that border having very little respect for Black Americans. They come across that border with the same biases that other foreigners have come to this country with as it relates to Black Americans. See, they will respect other communities because other communities have loyalty. Other communities have police protection where the police are there to protect and to serve, not patrol. See, in the Black community, the police is there patrolling us, you know, and controlling. They're not there to protect. You know, they've already said that they don't have a duty to protect. So that means they're Black Americans. We have to protect ourselves. Because if you think that these Venezuelan gangs respect you and have come to unite with you, have come to build with you, have come to share an American dream with you, then you are sadly mistaken. They are here to replace you, annihilate you, make you assimilate into their culture. In the Black community, Spanish will become the predominant language, and the violence against Black people will be exorbitant because the Venezuelan gangs have no loyalty, no love, or no respect for Black Americans. So at this time, when we should be united, we are divided over the politics concerning an Indian woman's identity. An Indian woman who opened the border and let in all these violent migrants that we're complaining about. An Indian woman who gave other Indian groups $26 billion while she said that she would do nothing for black people. I'm not going to do anything just for black people. No. Remember, she said that. This is the same one who's opened the door for these Venezuelan gangs to overrun our communities and to put our lives in danger. I want to shout out to No Limit in Chicago. I hope Cairo gets out of jail. If you don't know, a black American was unalived in Chicago by Venezuelan immigrants, and the hostilities are growing along those divided lines in Chicago, in New York, other parts of the country, especially California. And the line is drawn in the sand. Black Americans, you're going to have to unite with the Patriots, if you know what I mean, because the level of violence that these Venezuelan gangs are used to, you're not used to. A lot of them have military training from those third world countries, and you haven't trained. You look at survivalists and people who practice for those doomsday scenarios as kooks, but it's at your doorstep. So you're going to have to unite among American lines, because a lot of people that got your skin color will prove to be your enemy in the coming days. In the real near future, you will not be able to trust identity politics. You will only be able to trust in the patriotism and loyalty of your fellow Americans, be they black, be they brown, be they white. It will be the American creed that is the only thing that we can use to stand up to this invasion of these people who seek to do us harm and to usurp our lives and to take our property and our land from us. And that is what these migrants have come to do. They're here illegally. They have more protection and more benefit because the Democratic Party is assisting them in this hostile takeover. They're aiding and abetting them, allegedly, in the destruction of black Americans. They're giving them free room and board for up to 2 years, giving them enough money on their food stamp debit cards to create food droughts in our community. And they definitely bringing the hard drugs. So it's like we being hit on all levels, not with just the violence, with the drug addiction, with the ODing, with it's a lot. And it's not by accident, it's by design. Somebody is seeking to destroy black Americans and then America in general, but using our communities as a landing base for invaders. Think about what I said. This is not hyperbole. This is what's actually going on around this country. In Chicago, they've robbed over 5 different gun stores, arming themselves. This is very diabolical when you think about it. But I want you to watch this clip. It's for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for Education and Commentary and the First Amendment. Check this out.
First here at 5 o'clock, members of a violent Venezuelan gang have made their way into the U.S. and here to Chicago. Authorities confirmed to NBC News that they are investigating more than 100 criminal cases connected to suspected gang members. NBC5's V. Wynn talked to people concerned about the impact on the city and risks for vulnerable new asylum seekers.
Not only is the Little Village Community Council working to provide assistance for new arrivals, but also educating them on the inner workings of the city.
The city of Chicago is one of the most segregated cities and also neighborhoods that they might
think they're safe, but they're really not. The director here says they've been holding workshops on a rolling basis, letting new asylum seekers know about the different gangs and their culture. What colors not to wear? Because when you wear a hat, you tilt it to the right, to the left, that could cost you your life. They've also been fielding questions about the emergence of Tren de Aragua. It's the largest criminal organization in Venezuela with more than 5,000 members. We have been told that certain of the members of the Tren de Aragua have done certain crimes in the neighborhood, but we can't say if it's really them. This comes as local law enforcement officials told NBC News the gang is believed to be linked to criminal cases in 5 states, including Illinois and Indiana. NBC5 confirmed at least 2 members have been arrested here in Cook County for narcotics and weapons-related charges. Edwin Cambeyo was accused of selling cocaine to an undercover officer several times. Court records show as of February, his case was closed. Just a bird's eye view of the situation would indicate that perhaps he's cooperating with the authorities. Attorney Salvador Cicero is a former advisor for Organization of American States on Organized Crime. Venezuela is unwilling to share with the United States their information or their database on criminals. Well, it's difficult for U.S. authorities to easily identify people. Those criminals. Yes, those criminals. Despite the lack of cooperation from Venezuela, the Department of Homeland Security told NBC News every individual is screened and vetted, and they can check other available sources and data for criminal history. We reached out to the Chicago Police Department for a comment on this Venezuelan gang. We did not get a response. Reporting in Little Village, V1, NBC5 News. So important. Our thanks to V for that story.
I'm going to show you another story. So many.
F-Series. Charlemagne the God went after New York City Mayor Eric Adams for the migrant crisis which is plaguing this city.
You told them to come, Mayor Adams. Let's like everybody we're not gonna let none of the Democrats off the hook who were saying they had sanctuary cities and they were saying come on in, come on in, come on in. And that's when Republicans started shipping them. And then that's when they was like, everybody stop. It's too much. That's what they were trying to tell you from the beginning, but you didn't want to listen.
He gets right to the point, doesn't he? Chris Oliveras with the Texas Department of Public Safety joins me now. All right, Chris, the sanctuary laws, that's the real problem here, isn't it? Apart from an open border.
It is, Stuart. Great to be with you, of course. If you look back at all the messaging from those that were for open borders, these pro-immigration activists that wanted immigrants to come to the United States and provide all these benefits and resources, well, this is a creation of that problem. This is the reality of the situation. When you have that type of messaging, when you encourage illegal immigrants to make their way to the United States and then you give them all these benefits, well, it's going to encourage more to come. Now they're dealing with the problem and they don't like it. And that even goes back even further than that, Stuart. They were criticizing the state of Texas, Governor Abbott, when he started busing illegal immigrants to New York City. That created a national attention, which was needed because this is a national problem. And now they don't want these people there. Now they see the type of issues they're having, not only economically, but also crime. Now we have this new category of migrant crime that's taking place because they're allowing so many people to come into this country, and they're also, resettling in some of these states. New York is a perfect example where you see all this crime taking place. You have criminal gangs from other countries that established themselves now in New York City, and it's all because of what they encourage. And they continue to encourage this, and it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of the situation that's beyond what we're seeing at the border right now.
On that note, ICE officials have arrested a Peruvian gang leader who is wanted for 23 murders in his home country. In May, he was arrested by Border Patrol near Roma, Texas, then released into America. How does a criminal migrant with that kind of background fall through the cracks like this? And secondly, what are we going to do with him?
So this is all too common now. We're hearing all these type of stories, and now we're, even like I said, mentioned about migrant crime, and now suspected terrorists that have come across the border that have been released, and then they're reapprehended again because now either ICE or federal authorities have realized that these individuals were wanted or they were on the terror watch list. Now they have to go find these individuals. This all goes back to having an insecure border. It goes back to the policies that were completely dismantled and that allowed all this type of situations to take place because now there's no vetting. There's no proper vetting on these individuals, especially from other countries. When you have people that are coming from over 106 different countries, that data, that criminal history is not shared from other countries with the United States. And now you're seeing these individuals that have made their way across the border, have been released to the communities, and now they're having to go back. Federal authorities, having to try to find these individuals that are wanted for violent crimes. This is a reality of the situation. And like I said, it goes beyond what we see on TV. When you see large groups of illegal immigrants coming across, there's more to this border situation, and that is a reality. And now we're more vulnerable now than we've ever been as a country because of those type of threats.
I remember back in the late 1970s, Fidel Castro opened the prisons in Cuba, shoved them all over into Florida.
He's right. They showed you that in the movie Scarface. But this is even more sinister and diabolical because they're releasing these immigrants all throughout the country, and they're bringing them to black communities and giving them the resources to sustain themselves while they create a beachhead in our communities. They have turned our communities into ground zero for some type of future racial conflict that could possibly decimate what little black Americans still have a stronghold in our communities. And this is by design. This is what Biden and Kamala wanted for you. This is annihilation. This is Fortnite. I'm gonna show you one more clip.
U.S. officials are on high alert as a notoriously violent prison gang is spreading from coast to coast. Tren de Aragua, or U.S. officials are on high alert as a notoriously violent prison gang is spreading from coast to coast. Tren de Aragua, or TDA, was born out of Venezuela in a prison and has been linked to crime like this jewelry store heist in Colorado. News Nation obtaining a memo warning law enforcement that an estimated 1,000 TDA members have been given the green light to attack officers. News Nation's Alicia Nieves joins us now live from New York, where these gang members have actually shot at police. Alicia, how widespread is this gang?
Yeah, Anna, good morning. This is a violent Venezuelan gang. It's infiltrated U.S. cities across the country from coast to coast, becoming more brazen and organized, according to authorities. In just the last 2 months, we have had at least 3 major incidents on the West Coast and here back on the East Coast. Just this past week, as a matter of fact, authorities have linked a member of Tren de Aragua's gang members to a violent June jewelry heist in Denver. In nearby Aurora, Colorado, the gang is accused of taking control of a local apartment complex, using it as headquarters of their operation. And the footage you're seeing in a second here actually shows lawyers, or what lawyers representing several apartment complexes say is the gang seizing control of these apartment complexes, leading to gang violence and numerous code violations. Now, throughout the country, police departments, as you noted a moment ago, warned that the gang leaders have given members in the U.S. the green light to shoot officers. And unfortunately, that memo coming after an incident happened already here in New York City in June. As you said a moment ago, 2 NYPD officers were shot by a man living out of a migrant shelter. That man, Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, after his arrest, actually identified himself as a member of Tren de Aragua and allegedly told police that he crossed the U.S. border, came to New York, and when he got to the shelter in the city, the 19-year-old was recruited by the gang to commit robberies and even given a gun. Now, Castro Mata also told investigators that gang leaders actually have been instructing a lot of their members here in the U.S., especially here in New York City, to bring guns into shelters, and they're able to do so relatively easily by utilizing food delivery services because food is not scanned through the security system at these shelters. So this is obviously a growing concern, not only here in New York City, but again, across the country from the West Coast to the East Coast. We do know federal agencies are on this and trying to work with local officials to curb this growing gang activity.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like if that's the weak spot, they need to start scanning the food trucks then as they're coming through. Alicia, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find.
Now, what I'm saying to you is black Americans, pay attention. They knew all along that these people were being released from Venezuelan prisons. They knew that they were sending their worst over here, and they strategically placed them in our communities, gave them an advantage to establish a strong beachhead so that they would be able to take over our community. This is the betrayal that you're seeing coming out of Washington with these Democrats. They're using these immigrants as their henchmen to take the black community down, to take it over, to co-opt our culture and our heritage, and to disconnect us from the rights and the values that we had in our sojourn and struggle in this country. They're doing it deliberately. At this time, black Americans, you can no longer afford to fight each other. You can't listen to the Democratic shills and the bootlicks that's coming from the Democratic Party. BDs, you can't fight GDs anymore. Bloods, you can't fight Crips anymore. You guys have to realize that you're an American. You're tied to this land. And these intruders seek to take over and do you harm and replace your parents, replace your friends, replace your kids, and to turn your communities into third world countries and remnants of what they just left. They didn't come to build with you. They didn't come to share with you. They came to be aggressors and hostile. They have this idea that you guys are soft on TV. You know, they don't understand that you got the home court advantage. The language barrier will slow them up. But you have to realize that they seek to replace you. They seek to take what's yours. And you have to unite with other patriots because they recognize this as an invasion as well. Are there some good people that may have came across that border illegally? I don't know. But there's so many bad ones. I don't have time to look for a good one. Because didn't they cross into this country illegally? And now they're arming themselves. Now they're wreaking havoc in our communities, demanding to be taken care of while at the same time robbing and stealing and pilfering and pillaging everything they touch. This is not allegedly. This is what we're seeing on the news. This is what is coming from federal reports. This is what they're telling us is going on in our country. And as black people, you have to realize you're ground zero. You where they start. You're the starting point for the takeover. Black women, you say you're the least respected and the least protected. You haven't seen anything yet. If this border is left open, you haven't seen anything yet. So I want you to like, share this video. You know, of course, YouTube has me shadow banned for some of the news that I report. So it's paramount that you guys share my videos and support the channel. Support Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective. It's the nonprofit in Detroit. The Cash App is in the description. I want you to think about these things I said to you and what I shared to you because it's far worse and more diabolical and sinister, not even elaborated on. Use your own imagination. As always, salute to all patriots. Signing to y'all Detroit. Peace. Keep y'all head on the swivel. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.